Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a new tutorial and that is the Devil's Spiral. This keychain requires 3 string, 3 colors, whatever you want to do. And honestly, out of all the other tutorials that I've put on my channel, I think this is the easiest one out of all of them. Hence why whenever I teach this to people, like teach different patterns and styles to people, I count this as a level 2 compared to all the other ones that are on my channel right now, which are like level 3 and 4. So I think this is pretty simple and I hope it's easy for you guys to follow. So yeah, pretty simple. Does anybody want this keychain? Does anybody want this one? It's not bad, like there's no twists. It's fun to feel, I'm not gonna lie, because and you'll see in the video and I'll explain it, the orange for some reason wasn't as tight as what I wanted it to be. It just wouldn't stay tight, so it's kind of like bumped out a little bit more, so it's kind of fun to feel. But yeah, if anybody wants this, let me know. Maybe I'll give it to you. Maybe, we'll see. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it helps you, so let's get into it. So to get started with this, like I said in the intro, you're gonna need 3 strings. They can be 3 separate colors, they can be 2 separate colors, they can be all one color. It doesn't really matter. For tutorial sake and for keeping things easy to follow, I'm gonna use 3 different colors. So I'm gonna use this coral color, the soft yellow, and white. So kind of like the DNA and super spiral, you're gonna need to think of your middle color or your outer middle color. If you're familiar with that tutorial, you then know what I mean by outer middle color. If you're not sure, I will show you on this example. My outer middle color is this white. So it wraps around the purple and the yellow. So that's what I mean by outer middle color. So my coral and yellow are gonna be where the purple and yellow are. And then my white is gonna be where the white is. Okay, so I just want to think about that now because that string is going to have to be a little longer than the other 2. So that's why we need to think, okay, what color do I want to wrap around both of those? So once you figure out your middle color, you're going to need to cut your strings now. So I'm going to actually start with that middle color, my white, and this is going to be 5 feet long. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my white here. And then before I cut my white, I'll just let you know that these 2, your other 2 strings, are gonna be 3 feet long. Yes, 3 feet. I had to think about it for a second. So 3 feet and 5 feet, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my strings and then we'll get into starting the stitch. So here are my 3 strings. I have my 2 colored strings, which are going to be my outer, or my main 2 colors, I guess, and they're my 3 feet. And then I have my white, which is my outer middle color, and that is my 5-foot string. The only thing left I need is my key ring, and I will be using a circle key ring on this design. So I'm actually going to set that aside because I actually don't need it right now. But yes, so now we can go ahead and get started on putting these strings together and starting our first box. So I'm actually going to put the longer string to the side because I'm actually going to start with my shorter strings. So if you're familiar with the DNA and the super spiral start, it's basically the same thing as that. You just don't have 3 colors on your fingers, you only have 2. So you start with your loop still. So I'm just going to start with my coral. It doesn't matter what color you start with. I'm going to create a loop and I'm going to slide it onto my finger. I'm then going to hold that loop in place with my middle finger, and I'm going to take the front of the string here, or this side, and I'm going to loop it up in between those two fingers. Okay, so again, all I did was have this, and I looped it up and around. And I just made 2 loops on my finger, and they are parallel. Now I need to find the center, which I am not even. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all this. So there are my even strings. You can't really tell behind my finger there, but they're even. And this is what I have on my finger. I'm gonna do that same exact thing with my other color, which is yellow, and I'm going to start with a loop on my finger. And I'm gonna just put it right beside that second orange loop that we created. I'm gonna create my second yellow loop. And then we're gonna make sure our strings are even, which we are not. All right, so both of my colored strings, they're both pretty even down there. So now I have 4 loops on my finger, and now I'm ready to go to my longer string. So I'm just gonna hold my middle finger against the back and hold the front with my thumb. And then I'm gonna grab one side of my longer string. From here, I'm gonna push a little bit on my fingers, and I'm gonna create a gap underneath all 4 of these loops. This way I can slide that longer piece under all 4 loops and just pull it through just a little bit. Okay, so I'm underneath all 4 loops. From here, I'm going to connect these ends together of the longer string. And then I'm gonna pull till I find the middle. Now I am twisted. That's okay. Untwisted. And I'm just gonna pull till I find the middle. So there's my middle. And then I'm gonna drop my strings. Okay. So now we're ready to do our over under to create our S with our middle string. So I'm starting with the right side of my longer string, and I'm gonna work on the bottom portion here. So I'm gonna go over the first yellow loop, and then I'm gonna go under the second yellow loop. And I'm going over the first orange, under the second. So over, under, over, under. I'm gonna pull that through, and then I'm gonna make sure this twists so that I don't have a twist in my string. Okay, then I'm gonna do the same thing with the left side. If I can grab it here. I'm gonna grab the end of that, and then I'm gonna work on the top part of my finger here. So same thing, I'm gonna go over that first orange, under the second, over the first, under the second. And then I'm just gonna twist to make sure I don't have any twists myself. And if you were confused on the S before, this is what I mean by an S. I create an S with that middle string there. Okay, once I have that S, I'm ready to take this off my finger. So I'm just going to gently pull this off my finger, and I'm going to grab one color in each hand, and I'm just going to gently pull, and I'm gonna pull close to that forming box that we're creating. And as you can see, once we're tight, we have 2 boxes on top of each other. From here, all we have to do is add our keychain, so I'm just flipping it over, and I have 2 little loops here in orange and in yellow, and I'm gonna take my key ring and I'm just gonna slide it under both of those loops. Secure it, and then retighten this first layer again. So now that we have our first stitch done, we are ready to move on to the rest of the keychain, which is repeating this layer that I'm going to show you over and over and over again. So again, similar to the DNA and super spiral, you're doing the exact same thing, especially if you want that spiral effect. You're going at an angle with all of your strings. and you're gonna start with your middle color. So my middle color is by itself, and then I have my other two colors side by side here. That's what you want. And I'm just holding my key ring just with my fingers. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this bottom white string, and if you see, it's coming out of the bottom right of this whole box. So I'm gonna do the opposite. So it's bottom right, so I actually wanna take it top left. So I'm gonna take this string, I'm gonna flip it up and over and create a loop. And it's gonna go between this white and then my top string over here, which is my yellow. So I just created a loop. Now I'm taking this top string, it is top left, so I'm bringing it down to the bottom right. These are going to stay parallel. They are not going to crisscross with one another. The only thing you're crisscrossing is, actually you're not really crisscrossing, you're weaving your other strings through strings. Nothing's ever gonna be crisscrossed. Everything's gonna stay parallel, okay? From here, I'm gonna start with my top left string, which is this yellow. And if you look at just the yellow and white box here, kind of cover it up, that left string is coming out of the bottom. So I actually want to take it to the top. So I'm going to go over the first loop, under the second loop, and it's going to stay at the top. What's great about these side strings is that I'm basically working my way down. So this string and no other string is going to go above that string that we just moved. So I'm going left, right, top to bottom. So this right string is going to do the same thing. It's going to go over, then under, maybe. Over, under, and pull through. My yellows are also going to stay parallel. Now I have my coral. My coral is going to do the same thing. Over the first, under the second. And this one you might have to move to sit on top of the first white string. It'll like to slide down here in the corner. That's okay, you can move it. And then your last string, same thing, over, under, and pull. Okay, so this is something that you'll want to look at. Okay, if you need a pause, you can. Once you have this and it doesn't fall apart in your fingers, you can go ahead and pull. Again, the closer you pull to the boxes, the tighter your stitch is actually going to be. It also depends on the brand of string that you're using too. I've noticed that with some of the other string that I have. But yes. And we have the same box that we started with before we did that stitch. Okay, so basically you're repeating that whole process, you know, over and over and over again until you start to get a design like this. Okay, so I will show you one more time, kind of a little faster, but still explaining it. And then I'll show you how to tie it off at the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do our next layer. This one won't be as tricky because now that we have our first official layer in, not just the start of it, our strings are not gonna get all wonky. So again, I'm starting with this bottom white string and I'm gonna take it up to the left and create a loop. From there, I'm gonna take the top left string and now I'm gonna bring it down towards me, keeping it parallel, and I'm gonna create my second loop. Remember, keeping them parallel. From there, I'm gonna take my top left string and I'm gonna go over the first loop, under the second loop, and it's gonna sit up top. Then I'm gonna take my top right string and go over the first, under the second, pull through. We are on our last color now, which is my coral. Again, working from left to right. I'm gonna go under the first, or over the first, under the second, oh my goodness. And finally our last string, over, under, pull. And then I'm going to gently pull, again, working towards the box to make it tight. Perfect. And if you look, there's what we got so far. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go ahead. You'll probably pause the video because I'm gonna come right back and show you what I have. But go ahead and take this time to work on each layer until you get to a happy place with a happy length. It should be about this length. It might be one longer. I honestly don't remember. We'll see. We'll compare it to what I have on this one. So go ahead and work on that, and then I will see you guys at the end to tie it off. So here's my finished product of what I just did. Something that I was struggling while I was making this, and I don't know if it's because my hands are just so sweaty or if it's the string. I really don't know, but my strings don't want to stay tight. And I also got like, it was the coral color. So if you look at it here, you can see my coral is like thicker than the yellow. I don't know, but I just pushed through. I tried to keep it as tight as possible, and because of that, my orange string is actually shorter than my yellow. So this is actually shorter than what I was expecting it to be, but again, it's because of it's because of my sweaty hands. But anyway, I was looking at this one and kind of comparing it. They are very close, if not the same size. If you're not happy with this length, just make your two colors, like the orange or the coral and the yellow, just make those longer. Just make them 4 feet, and you'll be good. It'll definitely come out longer. So now that I have this, I'm ready to tie it. I'm just going to tie it off like all my others. So I'm going to create a loop over my finger with all those strings, and I'm going to push all those strings through the loop. Once I have all the strings through the loop, I'm just going to push and pull, and I'm going to create that knot down here. And once I get it centered and looking good, I'm gonna hold the knot, and I'm just gonna pull one string at a time. So there's my knot, and this one, I'm just gonna cut it to where this orange string is. I think that's a good enough length. So I'm just gonna cut all the excess off, making all that even, and boom, there is my double spiral keychain. Now this might not be tight enough, but that's okay. I will wiggle it, because honestly at this point this is just making me mad. So, but there is the double spiral keychain. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know if this helped and if you enjoyed it, and send me pictures if you guys do these. I wanna see your guys' finished products. So send me what you got. You can send them to me on TikTok, on Instagram. Yeah, just tag me if you want to post about it. And honestly, maybe I'll repost it. Who knows? So please don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below what you want to see next, because I'll do it. And on that note, I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye, everybody.